What's up, guys? I'm Jeremy Kane. I am a two-time Icon Award winner and recently captained my first 30 days of my next annual year. So super excited to be a part of EXP, helping newer agents or agents that just have hit a plateau absolutely crush their business. So today we're going to talk a little bit about unique buyer strategy that I use, and we can kind of dive right in. So we're trying to turn every single relationship into a client. And when I say that, a lot of times people think, well, I don't want to be super transactional, and that's not what we're doing here. It's all about building that relationship and building that rapport. And every relationship can lead to a client. However, every relationship isn't a client, and that's kind of the terminology game we play there. So let's kind of get right into it, guys, and go from there. When I was first in the business about 10 years ago, I was working at my dad's brokerage and kind of got rolling. And I said I had to be different. My dad had gotten in the industry, sold houses for 2 years, became a managing broker pretty quickly, and then just kind of was good with the status quo. That was not my path, and that's not the path I took. But it was really about why I was different. So we're gonna have you guys take 30 seconds, just write everything that you do differently than the other real estate agents in your market and that you compete with. So I'll give you a little bit of time there. Why don't we just grab a piece of paper and just jot them down? Don't think too much and write down 30 seconds. Ready, go. All right. I don't have a timer, but we'll say that was about 30 seconds. So hopefully you have a few things down. The point is for it to be small. So don't pause this and take the whole day to write everything down. 30 seconds. So this was me, things that you probably wrote down and hopefully you didn't was, I enjoy people. I like selling houses. I have a good attention to detail. Um, what else comes up? I have a good sphere of influence and I have good knowledge of the real estate market, whatever it is, very general, basic stuff. That was me. Didn't talk a lot about strategies, didn't talk about my unique value proposition, as I'm sure you've heard all about getting into this industry and going through the education here in EXP University. But so this was me, 3 million agents in the USA, and I had to be different. So this is what I did. As a new agent, I started with getting buyers off the fence. And this is a strategy that is a little bit different. You're going to hear some things today that probably are counterculture to what you've heard, and we're gonna see if you like it. So let's go. So I asked myself what the worst part of buying a home was, putting myself in the client's shoes, and I asked myself as a homeowner, as an investor, using loans. The loan process is everyone's worst nightmare. Not because it's just tedious, right? It's printing out bank statements with the exact dates. It's showing up and saying, yeah, I messed up. I had that collection back in college, or digging up past divorces or relationship things or anything that has to do with your credit. Typically, people are pretty guarded about that and pretty protected. So I mean, I just hate the little tedious pieces of it. So I can only imagine what a first time home buyer is when I've bought and sold probably 10 properties, and that's the worst part of it for me. I'm sure for those first time home buyers especially, it is an issue. So why do we insist of going through this before they are a client? And we've all heard the adage, don't put them in the car until they're pre-approved. So essentially, when you take a step back, and with my psychology background, I'm saying, okay, we're going to have them do something that's painful and hard. Maybe it's not painful, maybe they're good. But before we do anything else, before we demonstrate any of our value, we're saying, hey, call this person and tell them all about your life story. Don't worry, I trust them. They're great, without providing any value. And this might work for your mom or your sister or somebody that, is helping you get rolling in the real estate industry with a transaction. But I didn't think that was the right place to start. So I created what I call a scouting trip. Show them homes before they get pre-approved. And, it's totally different than what I was taught by my dad, by every, mentor, everything I've ever heard. Make this is part of the process. Don't show them houses. There's a lot of negative things that can come along with that. I was taught never to put someone in a car without pre-approval. Okay, perfect. I don't want to waste time. I will tell you that with this strategy, I've gotten my statistics to 7.5 showings to close in 2021 and 2022 when the market was absolutely bonkers and we were competing with 20, 30 offers at times. And now it's around 4.3 shows to close. As you know, in 2023, the market's cooled off a little bit, but we are seeing multiple offers still. And those are my shows per client to get to close. And so obviously know your numbers, that's important. But I would be wondering if you just took a, snapshot of the last 30 days or the one client that you did close or anything like that and look at how many times you showed to close. Sure, there's unicorns, but I wanted to put a strategy to that to get these things moved down. And so, that's what I did. And then, what if they never buy? Well, if you're a newer agent or you're an agent that's been on the sidelines a little bit or your business is kind of plateaued, if they don't buy, you're going to provide them with an ultimate experience, showing that you care, and we'll go through that in a second, as well as you're going to get experience, right? If you're a newer agent, you're sitting here, you're making Facebook posts, you're, cold calling, you're door knocking, whatever. Why don't we get some experience showing houses, opening those lock boxes, your presence with the client? All of those things are possible with this scouting trip because we don't need, we don't need to have them jump through that hoop where we lose a huge majority of our relationships is when we send them to a lender. Oh, we have bad credit. They said do this. I'll call them back in 2 years. I'll call you then too. We all know that struggles to convert over time. So I stepped back and I said, okay, that's what I've been taught. That's what we're going to do differently. What's my end goal? My end goal is to appeal to buyers. We're going to appeal to their emotions, right? We're going to excite them. We're going to motivate them. We're going to make them feel capable. We're going to make them feel important because, everybody knows a bunch of realtors, right? We hear it all the time. And, there's 3 different realtors in my, friend group or whatever that is. Well, if those 3 realtors were taught just like you were until today to, get that pre-approval and put them in the car and do all of those things, then you're going to separate yourself right there by having that time with them. If nothing else, say it's really close friends. Hey, let's go look at houses. I'm going to look at 4 houses today. I know that you're renting and, I know you're not ready to buy a house, but let's just go check out 4 different houses and see what that looks like. All of a sudden that's different. You have that time, you have the stage to show them that not only you do things differently, but you're also very educated on the market and you care about them. And that gets their emotions going. And then I want to connect them to a lender, right? I don't want to show them a million houses before we get that pre-approval, but that's after the fact, right? I'm going to build that rapport. I'm going to match them with a lending partner that I, know that their personalities will click. Maybe they're, somebody that just called me to inquire, and I'm just going to connect them with, a random lender because that's who, is my lending partner. No, I'm going to connect them personality wise to that lender. So there is that utmost comfort in that uncomfortable process. And then I'm going to collect as much information as I can. What is important to them? This is a huge one and saves me a ton of time and is actually the number one reason why those showings to close are so low. And then I'm going to demonstrate my professionalism. I'm going to care. I'm going to pour into them. I'm going to show them my commitment to really understanding their situation and their needs and their must-haves and their nots, and help them understand, well, maybe this first home is not your dream home, or maybe this move-up home is not your dream home. But we can definitely put a plan in place. I'm here for the long haul. So we can definitely sit down after we get through this close to say, okay, how do we get to that dream home using real estate as leverage? And then just communicate, right? Show your ability to communicate, show your ability to listen. So here's the plan. Okay, we're going to identify potential clients, and here's my 4 buckets. People that should be in the market: death, divorce, downsize, babies, any life change, job change, anything like that. Those are my should be in the markets. One thing I missed right there is people who are renting. Anyone who's renting a home should be in the market to buy a home. If not now, in 2 years, 5 years, however long it takes. But when renting a home, you're paying 100% interest. So I don't care if the interest rate's 8% right now. it's still cheaper than renting overall and better for the overall wealth of your client. Someone inquires about real estate, right? So obviously, this isn't just like a cold, I don't just reach out to people when you're first getting started. This may be something you have to do if you're, you know, if there's not a ton of people in your sphere of influence that, are ready to buy homes, or you're not, you know, connecting with people or whatever that is, this could be a cold lead source. But if someone inquires, hey, I'm interested in buying homes, I send them straight to the scouting trip. Hey, Johnny referred me, said you're great. Hey, let's do this scouting trip, because I insert it for my knowledge as well as getting them off the fence. So that's definitely one. The dream house piece. This whole strategy actually comes from a uh, well-known coach, well-known guy in my market that's big with NAR and all the things. And he said that he would give a client a questionnaire, and he would always ask them, "What's their dream house look like?" Right. So he says, this one client, they bought a house 3 years ago, and their dream house was a horse property in Elizabeth. Well, there was a project in Elizabeth that I wanted to go see, so I called him up and said, "Hey, you know what? How are you doing? Just touching base, whatever." And then he said, he's like, "I keep driving by this property, and I can't help but think about you guys, because that dream house, because that horse property that you're looking for. And I know you're happy. We did a great job when we helped you buy your home. But I just want to see you and hang out and, give you a hug, shake your hand, whatever. And, I'm going to be down at this property at 10 a.m. Saturday. Could you and the wife come down and check it out?" Like, changed their life, right? 90 days later, they bought that house. But that was just showing them a little bit, right? Creating that value. Like, hey, I care about you, showing that care, plugging them in, showing them the home, and then things escalate pretty quickly there. And then interested in listing. If this is also a big one, if someone's gonna, look for a replacement property, I absolutely say, let's go take a look at some properties first. Make sure that replacement, that move up home is there. Then I connect them back to the lender to make sure they're comfortable with that monthly payment increase and all of those things. But in our current market, there's not necessarily the ability to, hey, let's just list your house and then go find that home with limited interest or inventory on the back end. You want to make sure that the person that you're listing their home, that they have a replacement home, because having homeless clients as a real estate agent is not something we teach in EXP University or or in general. I wouldn't suggest that. So really using this to get a lay of the land and making sure that you're going to be a resource to them. Okay. Next, here's what the actual plan is. Okay. We're going to choose 4 houses in 4 different neighborhoods and set showings. Right. So the first thing is definitely know your audience. If you're dealing with, first time home buyers, show them what your market average first time homes are. If you're dealing with move up buyers, don't show them what the $3 million, luxury listing is. So kind of pick those spaces, because another thing that people say is, well, what if I show them a house they can't afford? Well, at the end of the day, they might not be able to afford it at all. But if you know the client, you're able to read the room, know where they're at, say, okay, we're going to look at these places. And you can ask them too, like, if you want to, the mortgage calculator, and say, here's what that amount down would get you. Let's go look at properties. Key is 4 houses in 4 different neighborhoods. Don't show them the exact same cookie cutter house. Try and get different layouts. If they're on the first time home buyer side, maybe a townhome and 3 houses, big yard, little yard, HOA community, non HOA community. You want differentiation here. And you're going to set those showings. You're going to show the homes, take them out. This is what it is. Let's go. Let's meet. Bring them coffee, whatever you got to do to kind of wow them and impress them along with your brand. And then we're just going to observe. Okay. So when I walk in the door, I say, look, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited just to kind of hear what you guys think, and think out loud with me. If it's an individual, that's fine. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But tell me what you think out loud, verbally. Let's walk through this. And I have a hard time with this as an experienced agent. I'm like, oh, there's a crack in the foundation. Let's go. Oh, there's a green furnace. Today is not about, selling the house and putting them into that. Now, if they say, oh, like, I'm really interested in this house and I feel that in the moment, then I can kind of go into showing mode. But for now, I'm just observing and listening and taking notes. If there are two decision makers, literally say, argue, throw things at each other. Please don't throw anything that's the sellers at each other. But I want you guys really to duke it out right now and, figure it out, right? Maybe one wants a 3-car garage. Maybe one wants, can't stand granite countertops or whatever. You want to really make sure that things are really dialed in and just observe, right? If they say, oh, the traffic noise is too loud in the backyard, we're going to be spending a lot of time out there. Just giving you more information and more data that will help you down the road. And then filter in the real estate process. I used to do this when people would be in the car more often. I deal with a lot of families now and car seats and that kind of stuff. So a lot of times, people are following me to and from houses. So I am able to filter the art real estate process into the showing. If you are not, I have a backup option and you're just focused on taking notes, and that's fine. And that's what you will be doing at first because it's so different. Um, and then I'm going to take those notes and I'm put them in the CRM. And this is where, the close comes, and this can happen at lunch or drinks. So if you're not comfortable like talking about inspections and appraisals and the process and the market while you're kind of taking notes in the showing, then let's have the close at a lunch or, grab a drink or ice cream after and, have the conversation where you can really go into the, uh, crux of the real estate transaction. So, here's the closing script. You can take it, you can do whatever you need to do with it, change it, make it your own. This is a blueprint. It's not going to change your life. You have to make it your own. Fully believe that. So, which home that we saw today that if you were in the market to buy, would you offer on and why? And just listen, right? And you'll know. I mean, obviously, if every house sucked and they're like, oh, it smelled, oh, there's no way. And, sometimes that happens. Like, where they're like, "Oh, there's no way I could have this $1,200 payment in that house in the market." And then we change that. But you're asking them which home they would offer on if they were going to make an offer and if they're ready and why. And that's where the magic happens because they just talk. They say, "Well, I really like the first one and the fourth one." And if there's two, then you can be like, well, let's see about these options, right? Let's see. There was two houses out of four, and there's 1,000 on the market. Like, do you think we should maybe, make this a priority and go from there? So then I say the next step is to speak to a lender. I think that this lender and you will, mesh perfectly and absolutely will be a resource for you. If you, just signed a lease or whatever, we can talk about all of that. If now's not the time, that's okay. I've had people call a lender and improve their credit score drastically over 6 months or 12 months, and then at the end of their lease they're ready to buy a home or they've already bought a home. And it's just really important, and there's really no obligation, and I just think that you'll hit it off with this lender. Boom. Right? Much more susceptible, much more already saying, yeah, this house and this house is what I would offer on. And so now they're much more, open to the idea of, exploring this. Like, this is a reality, Jeremy. You mean that I can get you into that house or I can buy that house, start paying down my mortgage, the American dream, all the things, and my payment would go up $200 a month for my rent? Well, if that's reality, let's go. And so you just kind of work your way through that. And this conversation is huge. And notice I didn't say would you offer on any of the homes I saw today? Nope. I said, which one would you offer on? And then they go back and forth. And if there's multiple, if there's one, I take it and run, I latch onto that. Like, hey, can I connect you with the lender and see what exactly your payment would be with your situation on that home, just so we have it for future reference? And that's where the magic happens. 4 rules, don't break these. Four houses only. Don't get into the cycle where you're doing this every weekend unless you want the practice. But, people will take advantage of it because people love looking at houses. That's why Zillow works. That's why all the, websites work. So 4 houses and 4 houses only, all decision makers are present. I don't want to show a wife one day and then a husband one day, because then they're not communicating and the notes aren't as solid. My only goal for this is really to have a buy box and, a relationship with the potential client by the end. We're going to revisit that list when we're showing properties. This is the magic because this is why I show so little properties to clients, because I have this list. And then a year down the road, when they, come back to the market, or maybe right away when they get that pre-approval, they're saying, everyone looks at the pictures. They're like, oh, yep, gray, grays, whites, granite countertops. Boom, let's go see that one. Well, if the wife or the husband or whoever mentioned, hey, I can't stand the road noise. I look it up on the map, right? I'm like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller here or buyer here, we're this is what's going on. They didn't like road noise. They wanted a 3-car garage. They wanted, no carpet, all the things. Well, then I remind them, because people just get the emails, they scroll through the pictures, they're like, yep, Jeremy, this one, this one, this one. I say, hey, you know, 123 Main Street backs to I-25. It's a loud road. Has anything changed there? Has anything changed in your opinion of living near a busy street? Oh, no, I didn't realize that. Okay, perfect. Hey, those pictures look really great. I do see carpet in some of the auxiliary rooms. Is that okay with you? So I vet the properties before I go and set a showing. And that's a huge time saver. And the reason why I don't waste time on these scouting trips without these pre approved buyers, because I'm going to use it later on. And that is that. So ultimately, I've done this. I haven't got any, you know, anything other than great feedback, either a buyer. I have sold homes that I've showed on scouting trips, like, hey, let's go. Then I'm like, hey, connect with this lender. They're going to answer the phone at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. So make sure you have those industry partners lined up and on your side. But if nothing else, referrals, especially those first time home buyers, they all hang out in packs, right? First time home buyers, move up buyers, luxury buyers. Hey, Jeremy did this thing and it was way different, right? He didn't make me, talk to a lender and give him a letter that said how much I could afford before, he actually cares, and this and that. And they'll talk about their experience because you appeal to their emotions. So I would love to connect with you. Real Estate Agent Playbook is kind of my deal: Instagram, YouTube, and the podcast. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to help.